Hey guys, welcome to another video of Ben African Cichlids. Today I thought we would talk about fish quality and then the codes that you might see if you go on forum or on a Facebook group page for from breeders like WC, F0, F1, F2, Tank Rays, Wildcat, Line Bred. So we'll get into what all this is meaning. So the first thing is WC or Wildcat, also called F0 or just Wild. This is important usually for breeders. You want to get their hands on those because you're going to have the best natural color of the fish. Yeah, you shouldn't have no genetic defect. You'll have the best behavior. So, but one of the downside of those is they might have some parasite. So when you get wild caught, most of the time you have to treat for worms or other thing like that. You don't know what you're going to get, so you have to be ready to fight diseases. And the other downside is the fish are going to be pretty stressed by the time you get them. So because the fish are stressed because they've been transport and catch and probably like going from like one person to another, from like transshipper and to maybe stores or wholesaler. So yeah, they're not used to be handled by human, and then all of a sudden they go from the lake to a little tank. So for quality purposes, Wildcat is the best, but for normal aquarists, you might want to stay away from Wildcat. The next thing is F1 and F2. And F1 means it's the first generation that's born in the tank. F2 is the second generation. So F1 the parents were Wildcat, and F2 the parents were F1s. So the parents were the firstborn in the tank. So those usually give you the best natural color. They're parasite free. They're also still have the best, strongest genetic from the Wildcat because they haven't been inbred too much yet. So they're nice and strong. So usually you'll pay a lot more money for those. Not as much as Wildcat. Wildcat, of course, because of the cost of shipping and everything, those are the most costly one. F1 and F2, they're the best quality, so you'll have extra cost for those usually. So now the next term you might hear about is line bred. So what does line bred mean? So that means it doesn't matter if they were a Wildcat, if you start with Wildcat, F1, F2, or even Tank Rays, which we'll get in a second. Line bred means that the breeder grabs the best color female that he can produce and the best color male, and you'll make them breed together, and then you'll use the best color babies to make the next batch, and you always keep changing your male and female for which color end up being the best. So you know, if there's a baby that end up growing up and is better color that the male that you already have, then you'll switch your male over and start breeding this one. Usually it will affect the genetic a little bit. It might make the fish a little bit weaker, depending what you're looking for. If you're just looking for color, but you might be looking for a fish that's stronger too, or more aggressive, less aggressive than the others. So it depends what the breeder's after. Usually it's mostly for colors because of course at the fish store or when somebody comes to your house to get some fish, they're interested in the prettiest one, right? But anyway, so that's how you get those. And usually genetic goes down a little bit uh, they're not super prone for disease yet at this point. It all depends really how the breeder's acting and what he's after and how considerate he is of breeding those fish properly. And the last one, the least quality is tank rays. So tank rays are going to be cheaper fish. Usually there are too many generation. You don't keep track of them anymore. It's not worth it after F2 usually, or if you're not line breeding, then you're not going to even mention anything about them. So you might just call them tank rays. So another thing about tank rays fish is they might be color fade a little bit, which mean, you know, like if you started with a Wildcat that was like nice bright red, so the red might not be as bright, or the blue might not be as bright, or they might be missing some of the color on their bodies, or the lines that they have on their side, or patterns, whatever fish pattern there is in the species, might be faded a little bit or deformed for the pattern. Now that doesn't mean that any of those fish are not good. Like, they're still all good. You know, it's up to you. It's up to you, like which fish you find beautiful when you go to the store and stuff, like, or at somebody's house that is a breeder. And then in any case, too, like, you can grab any of those fish and start line breeding them. So you know, you can get the colors back out or the pattern back out. Like, you can just get like cheaper quality fish like tank rays and put a couple like Wildcat or F1, F2, or just the best one that you find for the tank rays, and then just breed those one together. So you can get some of the colors back out or patterns. Tank rays might have absolutely nothing wrong with them. They might even look exactly like Wildcat fish and have all the right pattern, right color on them, and all this. So that's it for this video. Hopefully it clears up some stuff for you guys, and you understand a little bit about the fish quality and what people mean when they're talking about those.